Hey all, Choiboy here. Welcome to another video. Today we got the Sharesies Portfolio update for September 2021. Let's get straight into it. Just before that, disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. Please take everything I say with a grain of salt. Do your own research and do not buy or sell just because I've been talking about it in any of my videos. It's really important you know this because I don't want to go to jail. I don't want the FMA calling me up and like, hey Jack, I see you giving out financial advice. It's not financial advice, okay? It's just my opinion. Without much more to do, let's get straight into it. The value of the portfolio is at $19,334. The portfolio value didn't increase because my portfolio is doing well. Well, some parts of my portfolio is doing well, but the main reason is because I actually added more money to join in with the Plexure's share purchase plan, the capital raise they had to merge with Task. The Plexure capital raise was oversubscribed, so it didn't take in my full $2,000, so I did register for $2,000, but I eventually only got 1,400 or so. So that's okay. It'll be refunded back into my wallet and I'll see where I chuck the rest of my money, or if I withdraw that. We'll see about it when I get my refund by end of next week, I think. So the total return is negative 1.2k, which is a simple return of negative 4.58%. And I've put in 27k. Remember, this is not my actual principal value of the portfolio I've put in. It's the total amount of money I have put into these stocks. But remember, I was investing in these stocks while selling stocks that I was up 30, 40, 50%, like remember Augusta, Kathmandu, and all those kind of other companies, Heartland Bank. That's the kind of values here. I talk about those values in my new tutorial. If you haven't watched my new Sharesies tutorial video yet, have a look. It's in the channel main page and it should be pretty helpful if you're pretty new to Sharesies. The chart is looking same as always. There's not much going on. It's quite flatlined for quite some time. There's some random peaks, of course, because of Blackberry, but Blackberry seems to be still volatile even now. It's the most volatile stock I have in my portfolio at this point in time. So that's pretty much it for the basic values here. You guys might be wondering why I have A2 milk and only $50 worth of it. I did a live stream a while ago, sometime in September. Guess what? People made me buy A2 milk because I did a vote on what I should buy and people actually voted for A2 milk. So I bought $50 worth of A2 milk. Apparently it's up 7.21%, so that's pretty interesting. It dipped in the first week I bought it, but that's pretty interesting. I'm not going to talk much about it because this is not really my own pick and I'm just doing it for the live stream content, but it's just there. So we'll start off with Blackberry. Blackberry hasn't been having much going on with it. It's still volatile. You know, it's going between $15 and $8 and it's just bouncing between. It's pretty flatlined, to be honest. So yeah, there's not much to talk about with Blackberry. It's still, if we go into Simply Wall Street here and if we just look down, there hasn't been much, but they did release their FY22 second quarter earnings report and it's okay. It's nothing special. Actually, their numbers look pretty flat, pretty solid for the meanwhile. There hasn't been much going on, but there is a lot of hopes for this company with the cybersecurity part of the business increasing over time, and also Ivy, which is going to be kicking in from next year, properly in 2023 to be exact, with Amazon. So there's a lot of things to think about with Blackberry. It's like, but if I was looking at the long term, I would be saying it is a buy for me personally, but that is for each and one of you to have a think about. Blackberry, I'm still pretty bullish about it. There seems to be a pretty good support level here at around $8, $9, $10, so it will bounce around there for quite some time, but once it is ready to take off, it will bounce off that support line once more and it will go up. So if you haven't bought Blackberry just yet, and if you're looking for an entry point, you can't really time these markets. So it's better you own them if you actually want to buy them, and if you don't want to, that's totally fine as well. But other than that, there hasn't been much else, except for the fact that Blackberry has integrated with Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365 is pretty good for enterprises. A lot of enterprises use it. Even I use it at my workplace. It's pretty much to manage all the documentations, you know, sharing files, Office, you know, Word, presentations, everything pretty much. It's like the whole Microsoft stack for enterprises pretty much. So that one's pretty good. It's used in a lot of companies, and they've integrated with Azure AD as well. Azure AD is the way you log into Azure Cloud. It's really good that Blackberry is getting some skin in the game with Microsoft and these kind of core platforms which everyone has to use. It's pretty good. So I'm pretty interested about the cybersecurity, but I'll always be pretty interested in Blackberry's Ivy and QNX. Those are my kind of main kind of bullish points about Blackberry. So let's hope that blooms into a nice flower in the future. But other than that, Blackberry is pretty stable. It's dipped just below $10 recently, but I don't think it's like a huge issue. So that's okay. I'm expecting good things to happen in the next year or so, but until then, we don't know what's going to happen in the short term, but I'm not worried about it too much. So next one, we're going to talk about Virgin Galactic. Virgin Galactic, same thing. There hasn't been much going on. They're not going to have much traction until they actually get sales in for their seats in their spaceships and actually take people out to space. You know, that's when the real game starts, and we don't know when this is going to start. I think they opened up their sales, but that's about it. So if we look down here, I'm glad I took profit here and took profit here. I took profit in both of my tops, right? And it was a really good call for me because, you know, like, you just don't know what's going to happen with these small caps, right? This is a small cap compared to everything else in the NISC or US market in general. So it's not a big company after all. 6 bill, it's like similar to Blackberry in a sense, and I don't know why it is. It can potentially be much higher in the tens of billions of dollars market cap in the future if they actually execute on the spaceship travels and they have consistent revenue coming in from those. So that's the main thing there. Until that happens, there's not going to be much going on with Virgin Galactic. So that's fine. And that's also why I don't have that many shares in Virgin Galactic. It's just because, yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen. You can see I've sold once and sold twice as well. So in the chart here. So maybe I'll sell off my Virgin Galactic in the next pump. Who knows? If you're doubling your value on a stock within a year or two, then normally that's quite good. I don't think there's anything better to do it. The only problem was that it wasn't my biggest position. Blackberry was, and Blackberry is still down. Let's hope Blackberry reaches up to my standards. So those are the two US stocks. There's not much going on with it. Let's go on with RAKON. Next one, RAKON is the interesting one because, you know, I've been talking about RAKON for the last couple of months, and you guys know why I bought RAKON. RAKON is one of the key players in the semiconductor industry with their TCXOs. So they have really good products, and they've been around for 50 years, as I said. Their numbers look way too good to be anywhere in the $300 million market cap. They are worth way more. I can see them going up to even $1 billion company if they can keep up with supplies and the demand for semiconductors, and especially the timing products. So RAKON's a really interesting one. It's surged again in the past months. We started the month under $1. On the 1st of September, we reached above $1, and we've been there for quite some time, for like a couple of weeks. Then boom, it went up. And what happened is the important things. Blackberry surges and drops don't make much sense because they're driven by manipulation from retail investors, Wall Street bets. But these things, you know, especially New Zealand stocks, they pump for a reason and they dip for a reason, okay? You know, fundamental reasons, let's say. So if we go into RAKON right now, we can see that they have upgraded their earnings guidance. That was the main thing with RAKON surge this time. I remember they had a EBITDA of around $11 million last year. Now they were looking at $27 million to $32 million EBITDA, which was announced in the annual shareholders meeting in 12th of August, not long ago. And they were already saying we're going to double to triple our EBITDA. Sure, good. And they now increased their guidance for the underlying EBITDA to $39 to $44 million. That's a big improvement. That's few folds from the previous EBITDA they have. Even if you're on the lower side of this range, 39 million is 3-4 folds, nearly 4 folds from the previous EBITDA. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this works out. As I said, TCXOs have surged in terms of demand, and they're pretty much on a bankroll. They're literally going to make money, and you know, this is going to push them up, way up. I can actually see them going beyond $2-3 in the coming months or maybe years. It really does depend, but the current thing around 5G is going to be really interesting, because that rollout's going to take a couple of years. Normally these 5G infrastructure rollouts don't happen in a day. They take a year or two, maybe even longer, and it will probably slow down from there. But these products are so versatile. You can not only use them in 5G, but you can use them in pretty much any hardware. Anything that needs timing products and semiconductors, you can use Rakon's products. So the reach they have for the target audience is incredible. So these were the exact kind of potentials I was looking forward to when buying Rakon, and the only thing I am sad about is not buying more Rakon. I only have around $1,500 worth of Rakon at this point in time, increased by 47.17%. So that's a really good return on a stock in such a short amount of time, and I'm lucky I managed to find this before it surged. Maybe I'll buy more in the future. It really does depend. If it does dip or if it stays here for longer, and if I have cash lying around, this is a stock I would actually buy more of. You know, the demand is not going to go down in the next 1 or 2 years at the least. And even in the future, their products are pretty relevant to most piece of hardware. That's the main thing here. And you know, the fire they had in Japan around a factory of AKMs, sadly that kind of caused a shortage, but you know, that gave Rakon an opportunity to kind of dip into that shortage and just ride the wave. You know, they're not new to the game. They know what they're doing. We'll see if they can keep that going. Next one, we have Plexure, and that's the last one. So Plexure is at 62 cents right now. It's not dipping any lower. You know, this is a bit different from the previous capital raises. They just finished their capital raise. I just got my money in for it. Remember I said I've registered for $2,000. I only got $1,473 worth, and I'll be getting the rest refunded. This is because they oversubscribed, meaning they had a cap of $5 million and more than $5 million was raised. So they scale everyone down and they refund everyone for the remainder that has not been successful in the share purchase. So this one's going to be really interesting. I am pretty keen to see it not dip below 50 cents, to be honest, and I hope not. If it does, I might be buying more. I had to think about Plexure for quite some time, and I was initially not thinking about joining in their capital raise, but having a think, looking into the numbers and how it changes the business. You know, this merge is the key point here, and how it changes the business is so good in a good case scenario. Of course, they have more upside than downside, in my opinion. That's the kind of conclusion I came to, and that's why I bought in. It's not a huge amount, but it is a good top up based on the existing shares I had in Plexure. So I'm still pretty bullish on Plexure. The numbers are going to be really good. You know, they had their Plexure revenue guidance that came out in the end of August, and these were pretty good numbers. $45 million guidance for 12 months revenue of Plexure and 6 months of task. And you know, next year they're looking at the current financial year, they're looking at $59 million. If they manage to hit $59 million, then they will no longer stay at $120 million market cap for too long, in my opinion. And I guess the most important thing is how well the company stabilizes after the merge. Merge is very complex, so we don't know what's going to happen there. But also we want to see that earnings come back positive, okay? Plexure's been negative for quite some time in the past years. They just hit positive last year and then they came back down to negative. And that's the main problem, right? So that's the main problem with Plexure, right? Like if we look at just one positive year, then boom, down and under. And that's because of the growth phase they were going through. They were investing a lot of money and using a lot of money to grow their infrastructure, grow their people, and get the people up to standard. You know, all these kind of stuff. It takes a lot of money for growth companies to scale the business. And they spent a lot more money to bring in task. And, you know, after this merge, finishes, I can see it have a pretty good chance of becoming a billion-dollar company in the future. Obviously, this is a very optimistic view of Plexure. Obviously, there could be things that goes wrong. We just don't know about it at this point in time, but it's looking good in the nice side of the story. Of course, we do need to weigh it with the negatives, and for now, I'm going to lean more towards the bullish than the bearish for the medium to long term. So let's hope that happens. Another thing that happened with Plexure recently was the new CFO and CTO, because remember, the CEO, CTO, and CFO all left, right? The original ones, and we have new executive team, pretty much. Basically a brand new executive team. Currently, Plexure doesn't have a CEO. It'll be Daniel from Task that will be taking over that spot there, with the merge being complete. The CFO, they got someone called Andre Gaylard, who was working as a general manager in Genesis. Pretty high caliber person for what I can see. And they have another high caliber person called Russ Bennett joining as the CTO, replacing Andrew, who was the previous CTO. That's going to be pretty interesting because he was the CEO of Freedom and he was the CTO of Freedom before that as well, and head of global consulting. So it's a pretty interesting bunch of people, brand new executive team. I don't know the synergy of this executive team because they're brand new, obviously, but I'm pretty interested to see what this brings, and this is going to be a very interesting time for Plexure. I don't know how people are going to feel about it, the initial Plexure people, but this whole merge thing and this change does not favor the existing people of Plexure too much, in my opinion, but I think it can work out as time goes on. Let's hope so. If I thought otherwise, then I wouldn't have bought more and I would have been actually selling. So let's hope for the best there. So that's pretty much for my Sharesies portfolio update. It's quite interesting how everything is going. There's a bit of things going on here and there. It's crazy times. I hope you guys all being safe at home. If you're not in Auckland, then lucky you guys, but we'll see when we get our level 3. If you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up, put a comment down below what you thought, subscribe to the channel and bell notification for my live stream updates, and I will catch you in the next video or live stream. Until then, I'll catch you out. See ya!